Hello everyone, from us at Sinister Cupcakes, I'm Dwalia.
And I'm Scarecrow, and today we're talking about Netflix's 2022 movie, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This movie is a sequel to the 1974 original, so if you haven't seen that movie, you should probably watch that one first. Or we just so happen to have a review of that movie as well, so follow the link below or visit our channel to see that and all of our other sickeningly sweet videos.
We will start with a general synopsis, moving on to whether the movie is actually worth watching, and then finish with a review of what we liked and didn't like, along with any fun facts we discovered along the way. Well, let's head up to the lab and see what's on the slab. This movie is the creation of the combined efforts of Netflix and Legendary Pictures. It's directed by David Blue Garcia and produced by none other than Kim Henkel, one of the producers and co-writers of the original 1974 picture, as well as his son Ian Henkel. The film stars Sarah Jarkin as Melody, Elsie Fisher as Lila, Jacob Latimore as Dante, and Mark Burnham as Leatherface.
Almost 50 years after the events of the first movie. Wait, wasn't Leatherface at least 30 in the last movie? Doesn't that mean he's like 80? Okay. Anyways, almost 50 years after the events of the first movie, the sadistic killers have still never been found. Until a group of idealistic young influencers buys a town in Texas. Wait, they just buy a town? Seriously? They're like teenagers, and they're buying a town? Okay. Until a group of idealistic young influencers buys a town in Texas, where unbeknownst to them, the cannibalistic Leatherface has laid dormant for decades, just waiting for his moment to revel in carnage again. So, he just gave up killing? For 50 years? And he was fine with that? All right, if you say so. After accidentally disrupting his home, this group of friends unleashes this murderous monster on a killing spree that makes up for his 50-year absence. Or at least tries to. They try so hard.
Now, I'm sure with all of that, you're wondering if this movie is worth watching. No. Sorry to say, with all the hype, new technology, and almost 50 years worth of content and mistakes to learn from, this movie somehow still falls short. With it being advertised as a sequel to such an iconic movie, we were very hopeful that this modern rendition would not only stay true to the spirit of the original, but also answer the questions that were left at the end of the original as well. This movie does none of that. In fact, almost every scene leaves you with more questions, culminating in an angry frustration that leaves a very sour taste in your mouth. There were a few moments that were pretty scary, and the gore is unbelievably real, but the rest of the movie doesn't make these moments worth your time. The story, and the reason the characters are even in this situation, is extremely confusing, and makes the entire movie unconvincing. And if you're watching it to further the story you know and love from the original, or simply for some good writing in a good horror movie, you're better off skipping this one, as you will be greatly disappointed. So stay tuned, and we will show you why.
Well, that's the synopsis along with our general thoughts on the movie, so if you don't want to spoil anything, we recommend stopping our video here and watching the movie for yourself.
If you don't care about that, don't want to listen to us, or already have seen the movie, good for you, because now you can follow us as we watch how they massacred this movie.
Alright, now that the scaredy cats are gone, we can show you the few minor reasons you would ever entertain the thought of wasting an hour and a half watching this confusing and downright bad movie. This should be quick.
Number 1. The gore. Before its release, the director stated that he was not going to censor any of the graphic violence he planned to include in the movie, and this is the one area of the movie in which the creators did not disappoint. The horrifying special effects in this movie were so graphic, I'm not ashamed to admit that they made me flinch numerous times. They definitely went all out on this one. So, if you have any problems with explicit violence, avoid this movie like the plague.
So that's it. One detail we enjoyed. Wow, that should say something as we are pretty easy to please. But with that said, we would still love to hear your opinions on what made it worth watching for you, so please let us know in the comments below.
Now we're going to continue with what we didn't like about the movie, and honestly, almost every aspect could have been improved in some way. So buckle up, buckaroo!
Overall, we were just disappointed. This is the third attempt at a sequel, and they still couldn't get it right. In the interviews we saw with the director, David Blue Garcia, even he seemed to only have a small grasp on the entire Texas Chainsaw universe, including the universe he himself was creating.
I think that's open to interpretation, but in this story, Leatherface, he's found his way to this orphanage at some point, and he's been living with this woman who we call Mama for 50 years. So he's kind of been separated from his family. Now I don't know. I mean, there could have been other things that happened as well, so we can explore that later.
See? He didn't even know what happened to the rest of Leatherface's family. These are the details that bring us as the audience from the first movie to the self-proclaimed sequel, and nothing seems to add up. What did happen to the family? What happened to Grandpa? Did Leatherface stop killing? When? Why? Why did he go to this orphanage? Why did this orphanage accept this fully grown man, more than likely wearing a mask made of human skin, with open arms, and keep him around children for almost 50 years? If this is 50 years later, isn't Leatherface like an old man? He doesn't act like an old man. The timeline just didn't add up, at least not for us. And we were left with too many assumptions. Tell me the story, don't just bring me halfway. These are the types of things the fans are going to want to know, and it makes the sequel feel real and necessary. But this movie is none of that.
Many other details in the writing were almost laughable. Specifically, the long-awaited return of Sally Hardesty, who is now a Texas Ranger for some reason. What a joke. This was built up so much throughout the movie. She waited 50 years to have her face-to-face with Leatherface, only to be given the most awful lines in the entire movie.
Say my name. Say you know me. Say you know what you did to my friends.
And then to be cut down after having numerous chances to kill Leatherface. Oh no, this psycho killer from 50 years ago doesn't even remember me. Me! Blech. And then, after having her guts sawed out, she magically comes back to life just in time to get one more shot in on Leatherface before dying heroically yet again. It honestly had us shaking our heads in disbelief. Although, whether intended or not, this seems reminiscent of another moment in Texas Chainsaw history, but that is for another time.
This movie also did nothing to further the story of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and added nothing notable to the mythos of Leatherface. They even made him much more strategic, and almost sympathetic, instead of the relentless sporadic killer he is known as. You could have taken Leatherface out and put some random killer in his place, and it would not have changed the movie at all. It really seemed like the director had only seen the first movie, and then had ventured out to create a sequel, totally disregarding the last 50 years of movie history in this franchise. He could have learned from the numerous mistakes these movies had made in the past, done something new and exciting, maybe even made it funny, like Tobe Hooper originally intended it to be. But instead, we got the same old story, told in the most ridiculous and confusing way, with annoying and unrelatable characters. Part of what makes a horror movie scary is the fact that you can see yourself in this same situation. But when have you ever heard of a group of young people venturing out to the desert to buy a town and create a utopian society? In the middle of Texas, no less. Nothing in this movie made sense. For the first part of the movie, we were really unsure of what the hell was even happening, and why these characters were even here. And the questions just kept piling up, and none of them were ever answered. The goal of a sequel is to show signs that this movie exists in the same universe as the first, and they did not establish that. Not one bit.
Going even further, the creators also attempted to insert some sort of social critique in the middle of this horror movie that seemed to go nowhere. I mean, one of the characters was a victim of a school shooting, and we go through the entire movie under the impression that this means guns are bad and that we are being sent a message with this. But then in the final battle, this same victim sports a gun to blow Leatherface away, and we are left confused. So, are guns good? Bad? What are you saying here? What is the message? And the rest of the characters seem to be influencers of some kind, and the way the movie plays out leaves you confused about whether you are supposed to relate with them, or hate them and anxiously wait for them to die, as it sometimes is in horror movies. So when this cult of influencers bursts into this town because they think they own the place, roughs up an old lady in her own house to the point of a heart attack, and when it is later revealed that they did in fact not own the house, as a viewer, you have really grown to hate this group of people, and revel in their demise. Yet the movie is also done in a way that makes it seem like it wasn't making fun of itself, that these were supposed to be genuine, relatable characters that you were supposed to root for and identify with. The movie took itself too seriously, where they could have had fun with it, instead of trying to be just another Halloween wannabe. So it's up to you, it's your life, throw it away if you want to, like we did. That's an hour and a half we will never get back.
We would love to hear what you didn't like about this movie as well, because I'm sure some of you must be just as furious and confused as we are, and must be aching to let these criticisms out. So let your voices be heard.
Finally, it's the Sinister Cupcakes fun facts and honorable mentions.
Starting with the fun facts. There were many little nods to the original movie in this quote-unquote sequel. The narrator in the opening scene was John Larroquette, who was also the narrator of the original picture. This opening sequence also featured unused behind-the-scenes images from the original.
The population of the town in this movie was 1,974, a reference to the year the original movie was released.
The make and model of the chainsaw Leatherface used was the same as the one used in the original.
The after-credit scene sees Leatherface return to the actual house from the original movie.
And now the honorable, or maybe dishonorable mentions. This video will be incomplete without mentioning these few scenes.
The bus scene. In every trailer, in every review, you will see this scene being brought up. I guess that's because it was the only scene that was really even worth mentioning. Besides the sickening gore, it also alludes to the cancel culture movement and has Leatherface slaughtering a busload of influencers after they begin live streaming his appearance and threatening to cancel him. But even this scene was poorly done. After he starts killing a few people, no one attempts to get past him, no one attempts to fight back, and almost no one even screams. They just gather like a school of fish and are easily picked off one by one, sometimes in some ridiculous ways. But it was probably the most iconic scene in the movie, so we had to talk about it.
Finally, the ending. Wow. Just wow. Leatherface is shot, takes an uppercut with a chainsaw, and supposedly drowns in a dirty pool of water. After which these two girls, who went through all of this, survived everything, start to casually live in their robotic car, laughing and having a good time, only to have Leatherface reappear, after very clearly dying, to saw Melody's fucking head off, and leave her sister screaming and dramatically reaching over the back seat in horror. No, Melody! We were stunned. We were convinced it was a dream. It had to be a dream. They wouldn't do something this terrible. So we waited and waited until the movie faded out, hoping that she would wake up, only to find that our nightmares were realized, and this piece of shit movie had also delivered a piece of shit ending. Holy shit.
And that's it, everyone. We hope you enjoyed our video, at least more than we enjoyed this terrible movie. As always, please check out our other videos as well.
We would love to see your comments, especially which other movies we should review later.
If you like what you saw, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more sickeningly sweet content.
And don't forget to check us out on Instagram and Facebook for more updates, or visit sinistercupcakes.com.
Goodbye for now from us at Sinister Cupcakes.